All right, this is not an illusion. This is not a mirage. Pinch yourself, you're not sleeping, okay? We're actually making a video that has nothing to do with big chungy wongies or a bunch of news topics all put together. It's the first time I'm doing a video like this for over a freaking year. So yeah, we're doing it. Hopefully today's thumbnail at least has a picture of me and not like a picture of like 3 random people like staring at you ominously. Today we're talking about reaction channels. Are they the devil or are they not? The devil. Topic is kind of blown up because as of yesterday, Charlie, aka MoistCritikal, aka the Moist Man himself, made a video that said, "Are React streamers bad people?" It's a 24-minute video. I didn't watch the entire video, just a little bit in the beginning. It's number 6 on trending, but that's not anything special for Charlie. But the whole point is that Charlie was actually reacting to a commentary piece that was made by this guy named DarkViper. I actually don't know DarkViper personally, or don't watch any of his content, but I've seen his name thrown around a lot. I know he's pretty OG. But yeah, he made a Twitter like this that read, "All reactors are bad people." Dang. All right. Hold up. Let me finish. They exploit others to benefit no one but themselves. Collectively, they have stolen millions of dollars from actual creators and have stopped countless thousands from having a career. How the React Drift Works by DarkViperAU. Okay, dang. I mean, starting off strong, just saying all reactors are bad people. That's crazy. I don't know if you guys knew this, but technically I'm a reaction channel, not a news channel, man. Like I wake up and I say I sleep and you guys provide me with the news. And then I wake up every day. I'm like, what? That's the news? That's wild. That's OD. And we kind of react to the news together. I mean, yeah, I guess I am more informed than most people when I'm talking about the subjects. But anyway, let's figure out what's going on because apparently there's some drama between both MoistCritikal and DarkViper. And really quick, before I get into DarkViper's AU's article, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my like initial synopsis, aka my hypothesis of what I think of the situation, okay? My big take or whatever you want to call it, okay? And it's not so outlandish or wild that you guys are going to be hoisting me up in the air like Spider-Man, but like, be careful, he's a hero. Like, no, it's nothing crazy like that. I think that reaction content is fine as long as it's transformative. You can have transformative content where, someone's providing commentary over an actual video, which then transforms the original content into something much greater or much better. Or it can be non-transformative content when, you just sit back and watch. A lot of these Twitch streamers do that. They sit back, relax, and they just watch people's videos, and then they just don't react. It's just literally no reason to ever check out the original people because you already know that your favorite reaction streamer is going to go ahead and watch it. And even then, I think like there's a spectrum. It's not like that black and white. It's either acceptable or not. Everybody has their own degree of what they think is transformative or not. But even then, if you think about it, bro, like just laughing at somebody's content is then now transformative content to some people. Some of the biggest videos on the internet is literally people who do you laugh, you loses, where they watch other people's content and they just try not to laugh. And that's literally it. And those things will get crazy amounts of views over the OG video. It just is what it is. But yeah, okay, let's read this document by DarkViperAU. It's a little bit long, but since we're turning this into just one video, like this is usually one of the topics where if I was talking about it in an actual video, then I just wouldn't keep going because it'd be like, hey guys, this is just too long, but let me know how you feel. But since we're talking about it in one subject video, I feel much better about reading it. This is good. This is great. DarkViper said, so how does the React Grift work? A great question. I'm glad I asked it. It is actually somewhat complicated, requiring a greater understanding of the content creator economy than a viewer really needs to know. It is totally understandable for a person who doesn't produce content online to not know the minute details. So I will start with a simplified model of the online content creator marketplace. Keep in mind that reactors are not reviewers, analysts, documentarians, expert critics, or video essayists. They are people who present their first experience of a video as content, doing so with no idea if they have anything of substance to contribute as they haven't seen the content before. Okay, so what he's talking about in terms of reaction content are not people who have already analyzed the video and plan on making, extensive documents to it. It's like a first look, ooh, surprise, which I guess is kind of what I'm doing right now, I guess. In other words, they present their reaction to something that they have not seen instead of putting actual effort into making something after the fact once they know they have something of value to add. Okay. So it says diagrams not followed. So far, just in the beginning, it sounds like that's exactly what I'm doing with this art. I'm reading it, And I don't know if I can provide value, but I'm going to do my best. I've been doing YouTube for a very freaking long time, and I've done a lot of reaction content. So I think I can safely, add my expertise knowledge to the situation. In the online content creator marketplace, you have content creators spending various amounts of labor making content. Videos that have 5 hours of labor to make, 50 hours of labor to make, 500 labors a week, and so on. Then they put it out publicly, attempting to bring to themselves a certain amount of eyeballs, and success has a moderate relationship with how much effort was put into the content. Stop. That's wrong. And I've learned this a long time ago. Okay. Effort does not equal success. All right. I'm not here trying to bash DarkViperAU, but I've been doing YouTube for a long time. And some of my best YouTube videos were ones that I didn't put barely any effort into. Either they were troll ones or I was just relaxing. You got to remove the freaking concept that somehow putting effort into YouTube means that you deserve more or that you're going to get better views. Okay. Either you put out a product that people want to digest or you don't. That's it. That's the end of the story. So I 100% disagree with this concept, but let's just continue. Each content creator can only make a certain amount of videos or live streams a month. Even working 8 hours a day, that would mean only 240 hours of labor can be put into content by yourself. Most people don't really understand that this space is not infinitely large. It's a size defined by the finite amount of people engaging with the marketplace. Each is shown a limited amount of impressions of videos, which expose them to content that they may or may not click. These people, the viewers, also represent a certain amount of money for the creator in the form of merch sales, ad watches, patrons, direct donations, and so on. Content creators are in a tug of war against each other, ultimately attempting to gain enough of these limited eyeballs to sustain themselves in their career. Important to understand here is that the exposure is always 100% assigned. No additional exposure is created when a new content creator enters the arena. They merely get a share of what is already being given out. Again, I'm not sure I'm agreeing with what he's saying, this whole limited eyeballs things. The way, I at least look at YouTube is that, yeah, a lot of people look at a lot of content. A lot of people don't even know that I exist, right? But time goes forward, and as time goes forward, new viewers find new people, and old viewers stop watching the videos that they watch. That's just the circle of life and death when it comes to YouTube. People grow up, and the little kids, and they watch Keemstar, and then they grow up, and they start watching other people, man. Their audiences, they outgrow content, and so it's an ever-growing cycle of new viewers and old viewers consistently being recycled and rewatched and being changed based on what is going on here? Due to large number of people currently viewing this document, access become limited or not possible. Jesus Christ. Well, let's try to finish reading this before it breaks. Anyway, he says, to be more clear, when you go to YouTube, there is never an empty space. Each impression space will always go to someone. So anytime a content creator releases a video, any impression it gets would have gone to another content creator had the video not been made. Okay, this is fine, however, as you are not stealing impressions from anyone, as in theory, all content creators equally deserving of those impressions. Like when you get a job, technically if you didn't take that job, someone else would eventually get it, but that would be the case for anyone getting that job, and another person shouldn't be more deserving than you to get that role. Okay. Not buying that one either. I'm having a hard time right now. This is the second page. There's probably a lot to read still. But I don't think one person is stealing a view that could go to another person when it comes to any kind of social media platform or YouTube. Okay. There's just sometimes if one person doesn't watch another person, I feel like they just might do something else. If I'm not subscribed to certain people, then I might play a video game. There are certain YouTubers that do Let's Plays or whatever. And if they make a content and they just don't, then I just might just go ahead and just do something else. I see what he's saying, and I don't think it's incorrect. I just don't think it's all the way accurate, which just means it's not correct. So here's the diagram that he posted right after. It says impressions, exposure, always 100% distributed. It has 8 different creators. Creator number 1 did 500 hours labor video. Another one did 50 hours. 500 labor videos for the third one, 100 labor. So it's divided by how many labor hours they have put into the video. And it looking at this, at least so far what I'm seeing, it looks like the people who put in the most labor hours are getting the most impressions, which again, I already talked about, I don't really agree with, but we'll continue to go with that synopsis that if you do less work, then you get less impressions. And if you do more labor, then you deserve more impressions. We'll go back to the document, but I think using the idea of how much hours that you put into a work and splitting that by impressions, I think that's a fallacy. I don't think that's a good foundation to be putting onto YouTube again. But again, let's just continue, okay? I don't think everything that this guy is saying so far is far-fetched. Now, where does reacting come in? Reactor will take the labor of others from within the market without their consent and use it to compete with those same laborers. They take a video that took 500 hours of labor to make, spend 20 minutes watching it, and put it back in the market as something new containing 500 hours and 20 minutes of labor. Okay. They will have spent none of that time or money that the original creator did, but will end up with the compelling product. They then do this maybe 3 times and in 1 hour producing content with over 1,500 hours of labor, but with none of them normally required expense. Okay, I do agree with this concept. I mean, I guess technically, if I'm reacting to someone's video and their video took them like 3 days to make, then content that it takes 3 days worth to make is now integrated into my final product. Okay, I can agree with that. Continuing, obviously, normally no individual can create content consisting of 1,500 hours of labor in an hour by any other means. Thus, no non-reactor can complete. The reactor is able to bring forth higher quality content far faster than anyone else on the market. The result is that they take a greater portion of the pool of exposure for themselves than what their 1 hour of labor would normally be able to pull unassisted. The more a reactor takes from the finite pool of exposure, the less there is for anyone else. This means that less original content creators can sustain themselves and they have to stop creating. I don't think Dark Viper is 100% wrong with this, especially when it comes to specific reaction channels. So far, I think this is actually kind of factual with this specific statement that, yeah, if you're kind of reacting to someone's content, but you're not providing much of anything on the first look kind of reaction, then you are kind of just, soaking up the pool. At the same time, right? Some people don't want to watch Darman, some people don't want to watch maybe daily memes or something like that. Some people specifically want to come and watch another person watch something because they kind of want to view it from the perspective of somebody watching something, right? Like TLC. A lot of people watch those 90 Day Fiancé shows and stuff like that, right? People might not directly want to go to TLC and watch it, but some people might want to go to, like, I don't know, Oopaville or some of these other YouTube channels who actually watch it and then react to it, and it's absolutely hilarious because then it feels like more like a content where there's a person in the room with you watching it, which is a completely different experience from just go ahead and watching it yourself. There's plenty of shows that I would just not watch by myself, but I would watch with someone else just because that said someone else is there watching it with me. Which is why I don't think it's one for what everyone is saying. Like, I specifically would never go and watch a Darman video by myself. I won't go to his YouTube channel and click all his videos, okay? But I will watch other people watching Darman because I just want to see how they respond to his content, right? Which I think is a pool in itself. I don't think it's taken away because if those guys didn't exist, and I would not watch Darman. I just wouldn't. But again, that's just, me, I guess, maybe being nitpicky, but just responding, right? Anyway, this is the same process that happens whenever a new talented content creator enters a space. But a reactor is different as they are not using their own labor or labor they have paid for. They are instead just stealing the hard work of others, and with only a tiny fraction of the effort the original creator made to reap even greater rewards. The reactor justifies this to their audience by giving a tiny fleck of their stolen exposure back to the non-consenting unpaid laborers. With an understanding of how the creator marketplace works, you can see that this exposure would have been given to the laborers anyway had the reactor not taken it with their stolen content. What? So that's what I don't agree with. I don't think people would watch Darman if people weren't, reacting to Darman. I'll try to make sense of this. So this is the same article, right? And it reads here at the bottom, everyone loses except the reactor. And it shows here that the reactor, 1,500 hours of stolen labor reposted plus 1 hour of their labor, getting 30% of the impressions. While it looks like these numbers may have changed, saying this is stolen. Okay, I don't think that Dark Viper is incorrect here. I don't think what he's saying here is a falsity or is misplaced. or misreached. I do think that there are examples where this is the case, and I do think there are examples where this is not the case. And I'm hoping that I can continue to read further so far, because again, just with the foundation of what he's saying, I don't 100% agree based off the things I just said. But again, he might provide more context going forward. The astute among you may have realized that this is similar to how capitalism works. Common in capitalism is for one person to bring together a massive amount of labor under their own ownership, taking the revenue generated by the labor for themselves, and then giving a portion of that revenue back to the laborers. The difference between react capitalism and traditional capitalism is that laborers consent and a normal company to have their labor used this way, even if the circumstances of society ultimately compel this consent. Traditional capitalism also pays the laborers an actual money, which can be exchanged for goods and services, hypothetically enriching their material circumstances. In react capitalism, the reactor keeps all the profit for themselves, does not ask for consent, and gives nothing more than a small portion of the exposure that their enterprise is stealing for themselves. This exposure, again, would have gone to other creators anyway if they were not in the market with their stolen content. Okay, again, another situation where I agree and I disagree. I agree that there are layers where this is compared to capitalism and a little bit of trickle-down economics, I guess you want to say. But again, I don't think this is something where if the exposure didn't come to these guys, and then it would be replaced and come to... I still don't agree with that, but I see what he's saying. Quite the scam. Unlimited free non-consensual labor, maximum profit and exposure, and only a tiny amount of effort required on their part compared to the laborers they take from and their infinite unpaid labor pool. Content creators will pick the cotton for the reactor, and the reactor doesn't even need to feed them. Oh, geez. They pick the cotton? Black History Month? With this understanding, you might be able to see why large content creators have such a hard time not creating React content. Exploitation is really, really profitable, and beating your competitors is far easier when you have no labor cost and spend a fraction of the time to get the same product. So again, just stopping here. He's speaking facts, but also it's based under the false pretense that it's the same product. And then I just expressed it to you guys, and maybe you disagree with me. But again, like I just said, and I use Darkman as an example because he's probably one of the biggest channels that a lot of people react, but there's like daily dose of memes, and you laugh, you lose. There's a lot of content on the internet and on TV that people will just never touch on their own. But they will enjoy the experience of watching someone else react to it, because that provides value and that they want to watch someone else react to it. It's actually a thing that people want to see. I've seen so many things that I would never watch on my own because of reaction content. And then after the reaction content was done, I don't want to go back. Like if they stopped reacting to it, I wouldn't go back to the OG source and watch it because that's just not the content that I want to watch. It wasn't transformed in a way where I would be like, yeah, let me just watch that on my own. Anyway, continue. You can likely also see why actual content creators hate reactors enough that there was a huge movement in 2016 to call them out. Was that Reacts? Was that the Reacts? Was that somebody trying to copyright Reacts? What was their names? I forget their names. Unfortunately, the rise of live streaming has brought forth a new brand of exploiter ready to fill their bellies with the free labor. Creating actual content takes time, energy, and creativity. No, I don't agree with that either. It doesn't need to take a lot of time. It doesn't need to require a lot of energy. You don't have to be very creative. I think this might be a little bit of a projection from Dark Viper. This is the concept that I see a lot of YouTubers fall in trap, and he's such an OG that I feel like he shouldn't be falling into this trap again. Is that no, it doesn't require time, energy, and creativity. You choose to put time, energy, and creativity to make content. That's that's a physical choice, and the direct choice of you putting in this kind of energy does not equate to it somehow being better content or an amazing content or content that's worth a click. Okay, I can spend 1,000 hours making crap content, and that's just the fact. But anyway, if you do it all yourself, you will get quickly tired, burn out, run out of ideas. I agree with that. The exploiter class, XQC, he's dropping names here. XQC, Hassan, Pokimane, MoistCritikal, etc. Oh, so that's why MoistCritikal responded to the video. He dropped the name, he name dropped him. Okay. We'll use this unpaid labor to avoid this expense and therefore draw the maximum viewers and revenue from actual creators. They will, of course, then upload this stolen content to their YouTube channels as well to further maximize profits that would otherwise, again, go to actual content creators. So I kind of agree with this to an extent. Again, it depends person by person, case by case. But like I've seen, like, for example, like XQC. I've clicked a couple of his videos that popped up on my recommended, right? And he'd be sitting there in the corner kind of like looking at it. And he watched like 25 seconds clips of a video, and then he'll be like, That's my XQC impression. It'll be like for like 15 seconds. And then he'll just keep playing the video. I don't think XQC is like the craziest of commentators, but then again, it might have just been some of the videos that I've seen where his content doesn't look crazily transformed. It's just XQC watching TV sometimes. And then I guess other times he's actually putting in much more of a greater input. Because let's be real, there's a lot of content creators that do this. If you look at some of the top commentary channels, there's a literal genre. It's called commentating. Okay, that's what people do, is they commentate. You got like Drew Gooden, Jarvis Johnson. You've got Cody Ko. Okay, you got these dudes with millions and millions and millions of like subscribers. D'Angelo Wallace. All right, some of the biggest guys who come out there and they kind of react to specific content. Now, D'Angelo Wallace is a little bit different. Okay, he does full documentaries, but there was a point in time where he stopped doing that, had a second channel, was reacting to stuff and just replying to it, and that is a piece of content. It's what I'm doing right now. You guys could just read this freaking document on your freaking own. The original source content is here, but a lot of you ain't going to read it. But if I read it, maybe you'll listen to me read it because you like my voice. Maybe you'll listen to me read it because you want to hear my take. So it's not black and white. I'm just a little concerned that there's not enough nuance in this document so far. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, I'm trying to keep reading more without stopping because there's a lot to read. Each of these creators earn on average $20 million a year on their backs of unpaid writers and content creators who do not even get asked whether they want to be unpaid interns in these enterprises of exploitation. Oof. You might say, but I've heard of X content creator who is fine with reactions. What you're ultimately asking is, why do people participate in React capitalism even if they hate it? The answer is that everyone in the content creator marketplace is affected by React content, regardless of whether or not they give up their content to their overlords. As long as reactors are around, you are still losing out, as they will use their free labor to steal away exposure from all original content, including yours. At least if you join them by giving them unpaid labor, you can get that small flake of exposure back. It is similar to people working in the Amazon warehouse. They might hate Amazon, but they do need a job, and getting the small flake from Amazon's massive revenue is better than getting nothing. So we've talked about this before, and then again, I don't think it's that black and white. I do think people like PewDiePie and MoistCritikal, these big old YouTubers who go to Darman's YouTube channel and react to his videos, I don't think this is them stealing away from their pie and then reacting to it and then like suddenly, giving them a little bit back. I think this is truly, I think the era of reacting to Darman videos and a lot of these specific type of videos, Dale, all this stuff brings crazy amount of attention back to it. Because, okay, I think it brings recognition, awareness that they even exist. Darman probably would have been fine without it, but he probably blew up even more when everyone started reacting to his content. Again, I don't think it's black and white, but I do think that there is a situation that does go down where people kind of just eat up content by just viewing it and watching it without really bringing too much to the situation. And yeah, it could have been a view for that person, but I don't think those people watching their favorite Twitch streamer would have went out on their own to watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not one for one. Anyway, even if you say no one is allowed to react to my content, you are still losing the same way we are. All reactors will just move to the next person's unpaid labor with absolutely no consequences to their profit. In the same way that if you say, no, I won't work for this exploitative business, they will just move on to the next worker and not care. It takes a huge movement to compel labor exploiters to do anything online or not. Okay, so we're going to go to the next page. But I think what Dark Viper needs to acknowledge is that sometimes if you have somebody like PewDiePie react to one of your videos, that he could actually bring you, I want to say, profit. Can bring you more exposure. There's a lot of people who have been brought up because of reaction channels and have brought them a lot of exposure. It's not one for one, I assure you. But sometimes, if PewDiePie watched a video of mine and said, hey, that's a funny video, I like it, I'm pretty sure the exposure that I would get, it would be absolutely just ridiculous. Anyway, the idea of reactors being benevolent overlords seeking out poor downtrodden content creators to give exposure to is, of course, a convenient lie. Thank you. Okay, at least it's not being like wild with it. Ignoring the absence of the existence of reaction content, more exposure would be going to original content, big and small. Reactors also do not seek out tiny content creators who can't catch a break. They find videos they are already doing well in the algorithm and are already successful, thus those who do not need their exposure. Okay, I agree with that. All right, and that addresses the Darman concept that I was saying. Reactors are not seeking out content to give it any sort of boost. They're seeking out content to bring themselves the maximum amount of profit for the least effort. I kind of agree with this. I'm continuing. Any benefits they claim to bring others are merely justifications so they can continue their theft. Okay, that one's wild. He keeps villainizing these content creators, but it's not like that. Not because they are acting with the goal of benefiting others. In the same way that Amazon may be paying for people's rent, but if they could not do that and still get the labor, they would do so in a heartbeat. Reactors are reacting for themselves, their profit and brand, nothing more. So if I make content and I react to someone's news article, I react to someone's video, at the end of the day, my goal is not to give this other person any kind of traction, any kind of publicity, any kind of whatever, which for me actually hasn't been the case. I don't know if you guys watch my videos, but if I'm watching someone else's video, sometimes I'm like, yo, go to this person's channel, go subscribe. You know, like that's what I normally do. I mean, I don't think everyone does that, but like, and I don't watch the entire video. I usually say, I'm not going to finish the video, but you know, guys, you guys need to come finish the rest of this video. But again, I guess maybe I'm not doing full on reaction videos. I don't know. Let's continue. Reactor can't make another person's content good. If your content is bad, no amount of reactions will save it. If your content is good, then it will get exposure naturally, and so you don't need reactors. False. Okay? There's millions of people out there making amazing content, okay? That they will not naturally get exposure. That's not how YouTube works, bro. Come on, man. You've been in the game, man. There's so many underrated channels out there that do not get the publicity. They don't get the luck. They don't get into the algorithm, no matter how good their content is, man. That's just, we got to break that freaking concept that somehow if you just make good content that you just succeed on YouTube, because that's such a lie. It is therefore amusing when reactors blame the content creators when the magical boost to viewership they are meant to experience never materialize. It's as if for reactors, if the content creator being stolen from who is responsible for making good content, specifically for the reactor, and they have failed in their duty. If the degree of benefit, return, stolen exposure a creator gets is solely dependent on the quality of their content, then it shows you just how redundant reactors are. This would be the case regardless of whether they existed or not, making the reactors just the middlemen growing fat and lazy on the labor of others. Okay, so again, I agree and I disagree. This would be a good debate, I feel like. I mean, I don't know how good I would be in a debate, but I mean, just reading this, obviously I get to pick it apart because the words are just there and you can't respond to it. I mean, you might actually have a reply to it, but again, I think Dark Viper is making points. And then there's some points that I agree with, and there's some points that I disagree with. The worst part of this modern discourse on React content is people conflating different forms of content as all React content. This results in the exploiters being able to hide themselves in the ambiguity, shielding themselves from criticism. Reactors are not reviewers, analysts, documentaries, expert critics, or video essayists. They are people who present their first watch of a video as content in some media, their reaction to something they have not seen before. The other content described previously I define as response content. Response content is where you see someone else's content and feel that you have something of significance to add to their work. Okay, all right, here we go. He's differentiating between react and response. This can take the form of review, analysis, adding your particular expertise to give an additional information, or altering their content to create some new form of expression. To achieve this, you take the relevant parts of the original video and make your own video, splicing in parts to give you your own work context. This new content is a transformation of the old content in that you could not create the OG video just using the response video. Reactors, on the other hand, do not transform content, nor do they act with the knowledge they can have something significant to add. For how would they know? They haven't seen the content yet. Okay, agree again here with the concept, the difference between people who respond versus people who react. But at the same time, I think the element of surprise and coming into a specific situation, a specific video, okay? We're YouTubers. Majority of us who are doing any kind of reaction videos, we've seen a lot of videos, okay? We do not actually have to see a video before we actually respond or react to it, because we are basically professionally always have been reacting. We kind of know what this place is. Okay, we kind of know what's going to be said or not what's going to be said. Okay, I can do this. I can not read this entire essay, and yet I'm confident that the amount of criticism or response that I can do before coming into it blindly will be enough for it to transform the content, because I'm providing commentary. And I think it's pretty decent commentary in my opinion. But you mean reactors use the entirety of the heart of the original work. Thus, the original work has not been transformed, merely added to. You can quite easily recreate the original video using the reaction with nothing lost. A React video generally consists of something unedited, usually just pause at various points to make statements that could be entirely addressed by the rest of the video, but the reactor is unaware of this because they haven't seen it yet. No amount of pausing the video and speaking has ever resulted in a reactor putting in even 1/100th of the effort of the original creator they are stealing from. Again, this man just keeps using the word effort. I'm not trying to be a villain or anything like that. When I say this, guys, I keep saying this over and over, but your effort doesn't mean shit, okay? No one cares how long you've worked on the video. If it's crap, if it's crap. If you put an hour into a video and that jump was an amazing meme, then it's amazing, but no one cares about your effort. And I don't like the fact that Dark Viper keeps putting in the concept of labor hours and effort as if that should translate into something important, because it's not important, okay? I can spend thousands of hours working on a dish and Gordon Ramsay will come in and call me an idiot sandwich. That's just how it works. One of the biggest things that new YouTubers, and if you're a new YouTuber, that they fall into and they fall face fat is the idea that putting in a lot of effort should give them reward. And that by putting in more effort, you should somehow be rewarded more. And it's not. Okay, don't fall for that trap. Okay, it's not even fair or unfair. Okay, man, you can try as hard as you can, but if you're not making good content, you're not making good content. The time spent does not equate to the reward that coming out. Okay, get that in your head. All right, I don't think Dark Viper is using that logic here, but I think he's disagreeing with me on that. But yeah. Anyway, if you believe a person's goal with React content is to add value to something, why wouldn't they watch it all in order to have an entire understanding of what it is in the video? They could then respond to it only using those parts they believe they can add something insightful to. They don't do this because it would take effort. Reactors are lazy people, more interested in free labor and generating profit for themselves than creating valuable content. And again, I think there are points where Dark Viper is saying this and that he is right. But again, the term valuable, right? And I said this in the beginning of the video, spectrums and what people consider valuable is completely different from another person. Okay. Watching Markiplier laugh at meme videos, that to me, that's value. Just watching Markiplier laugh in general, that's value. But him watching and reacting to videos and doing You Laugh, You Lose, that's value for me. Okay. I can watch that joint all day, but I would not watch those said videos without him. So what people consider a value is different. Hope you guys understand I'm not trashing Dark Viper, by the way. I'm just responding. I see a lot of his points, and I think they apply to many people. People who just coast and sit there and drink coffee or tea or eat their food and just watch the video in the background. I think that's cruddy. That's messed up. And I don't think that's actual content, okay? I think that's just literally putting it on TV and sitting there and being lazy and watching with someone else to be like, wow, oh, wow, interesting. Oh, wow, that's funny. Haha. You know, stuff like that. But I mean, if the person has a personality, right? And that personality shines off through other people's content, I think it can sometimes enhance or change the actual video itself. Like literally, if Kevin Hart watched like any video for some reason, just because he is Kevin Hart, like it's like it changes the video with just his presence alone, okay? Is he putting in less effort? Yes, but would I like to see Kevin Hart watch something more than me just watching it by itself? Also, yes. So it's interesting, right? It's interesting. Many of the reactors have stolen fortune, so significant that they could actually make amazing original content by paying talented people to make it for them. Or for the rare reactors, the one had talent they could make themselves, I guess. They don't do this, obviously. Why would you fly out to get permission to look at the most amazing houses in the world when you can steal the footage from the people who did spend the time and money to do that? Reactors know that making original content is a sucker's game. There is no original content video they can make that will have as good a return on investment as React content. I agree. I definitely do agree with that. I think making original content on YouTube is freaking hard. Not as only hard, but it's almost sometimes like impossible, because usually content begets content begets content. Somebody watches someone's content, they make content from that, and they make content from that. You know, we look at articles, we look at news, we look at information. Somebody wrote that daggone article, that 1,500-page essay, and wrote it down, and you took it and you used and said, and you read it, and then you was like, yep, let me transform it into my own words. Like, content begets content. So it's actually finding original OG content that somehow has not been sourced from somebody else, I think is damn near impossible. Even video essayists, okay? You go to freaking Wikipedia. Somebody typed all that information in. If you go to freaking books, you were referencing, data. People will spend hours making this content, and you will go here and people will paraphrase whatever's in this thing and say, blah, 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 but then they make it theirs, and now suddenly it's their content. I think ultimately, and maybe I'm reaching with this, but for the majority of content inspired from other type of content, and I don't think you can avoid not taking almost OG work when it comes to it. It's very, very rare for you to make those kinds of videos. That content is extremely rare, and I think it's actually the most uncommon type of content. Continuing, the investment is zero, and the return is effectively unlimited. React content, therefore, funnels money to those who are specifically the least likely people to spend it, making amazing content for us all to enjoy, while making the rewards for people actually making original content smaller. If you ever thought content on YouTube has gotten worse, it is in large part the reactors' fault. I don't think it's gotten worse. I think just people haven't found the right people. I think there's a lot of good content on YouTube. I mean, I guess ideas, eventually become finite, and people are going to have to rinse, wash, and repeat the same ideas, because eventually no one can just make OG content anymore, because someone's probably already made a video on it. You can just make your own version of it, but that's the only thing I can think of. Perhaps you've seen reactors say, I am just stealing from large companies, so who cares? Ignore that people rely on these companies for employment. As I've outlined previously, what they are actually doing is using content they didn't create to pull exposure and revenue from OG content creators exclusive for the reactors game. Hassan, Pokimane, MoistCritikal, XQC, etc. are multi-million-dollar companies and generate revenues that eclipses most of the companies in the world. Giving them more money to throw on their piles of cash that they won't even use to produce content is not an improvement. A dollar given to an anime studio has a damn higher chance of making quality content than giving it to any of them. Okay. I agree with that last sentence. More importantly, the legal positions of platforms like YouTube and Twitch are balanced on razor's edge. All it would take is one significant legal challenge from a company to set precedent that could destroy this delicate balance and make all our careers impossible. XQC, Hassan, the sky's toast, were recently gambling with their careers of tens of thousands of people in order to stream hundreds of episodes of TV shows, cartoons, and anime. Yeah, that was wild. I didn't understand that, and I thought it was garbage. That was absolutely wild. It doesn't matter how unlikely such a challenge is, the odds are not zero, as YouTube's history has shown. We've been lucky to make it this far, and these multi-millionaires had next to nothing to gain, but they risked everyone else's livelihoods anyway. I agree with that. I don't know why they did that outside of just clout and attention, because we knew that it was wrong. We knew that it was illegal, and we knew that it could set a precedent. I guess if Toei Animation started coming over towards us like they did with Totally Not Marked and started looking at everybody, then yeah, it would make it an unfun zone for a lot of people. But these guys would be fine because, like they said, they're multi-millionaires. They can get banned from Twitch for multiple days, and they can just take a vacation, okay? I see what they're saying. They drew massive unwanted attention to the space whose consequences may have yet to unfold for literally no reason than for their own glorification. They have enough money to live for the rest of their lives. So give no thought on how their actions impact others. They personally will be fine. So why care? These people are monsters. Dang. I don't know about calling them a monster, but I think fame for a lot of these people get to their heads. There was no underlying like G.I. Joe message at the end of the video. And kids, this is why you shouldn't watch anime. After I've just watched like a full season of anime, I don't think it's like that. All right, so we're almost done. I think we're a little bit halfway through. I'm going to try to read faster, and I'm going to try to read more through it and respond less, so that we can actually not have a 1 hour video, which is looking like it might be. Now we come to the issue of consent. While reactors dismiss the idea of paying workers for their labor or giving them a say over who can profit from it, they will also attack the idea of informed consent as a concept, stating that they will steal as much of a person's labor as they desire before the person finds out and tells them to stop. In other words, if you feel pressure to not cause a fuss about someone stealing your content, perhaps due to fearing the powerful reactors and the audience will threaten your livelihood with backlash, or if you're not knowledgeable enough to say no, you don't know another person is out there exploiting your labor, or if you physically can't say no, maybe because a reactor has spiked your drink at a party. What? I'm just going to pretend that line doesn't exist. A reactor believes they can do whatever they want to you. Consent to reactors means they can do whatever they want to you unless they have explicitly told them no. Going to a party with a reactor must be a scary thing. But besides a person unironically saying that, all other content creators should contact them personally to tell them whether or not they can steal their labor is the most egotistical thing ever. Like literally the world revolves around me kind of thing. As if all content creators have an obligation to watch every one of reactor streams in case their content happens to be stolen. This paragraph is a little sus. I would have deleted this. I wouldn't be comparing using consent and then comparing that between reaction channels and spiking to people's drinks, bro. Like, come on, dog. We stretching here. This is Dowsum. The reason reactors stop stealing your content, if you find out it isn't out of respect for your content creators in general, their whole existence revolves around disrespecting them. They stop because they fear a copyright strike. That is it. You have found them stealing from your house, and they stopped because they are worried you'd call the cops. They obviously don't give back anything they stole, but then they go next door and start stealing from your neighbor. There are never any consequences for your actor when they are found stealing, so they just keep doing it. This is very villainizing. Like, this is getting a little bit personal. And it feels like this is very strong projection, okay? There's plenty of people who can be like, hey, can you stop reacting to my stuff? And plenty of YouTubers be like, oh yeah, sure. Okay, I won't do that anymore. That's it. No villainizing, no theft, no fear about copyright. They'll just be like, oh, can you just stop doing that? Or can you at least credit me? And the person will be like either, oh yeah, I can stop reacting, or sure, I can start crediting you. I think the whole point is that, at least in the YouTube realm, it's so normalized for people to react to content that it's not theft. If it was illegal, if it was the equivalent of stealing from someone's house, then people would be going to jail or suffering from some kind of dire consequence, right? Again, transformative content and fair use is a actual thing. So we have to take that in consideration and not say that every person who is reacting is a freaking goddamn thief or someone who will spike your drink at a party without consent. Like, Jesus. Like, I don't need permission to read this essay right now. I'm not going to go over here and be like, hey, excuse me, sir, can I read your essay, but like on paper, this thing that you've made public? Can I read it? No, okay, it's public information. You put it out there for people to read, and I'm out here reading it right now. And I'm not going to ask for permission for that. The same thing applies to a lot of videos. Again, I get how people can abuse that system, but that's not everybody that you're naming right now, and it's very it's villainized. There's a problem, and sometimes to address a problem, you got to go a little ham on just the perpetrators, but the nuance is important as well. But maybe sometimes it's hard to have such a nuance within a limited, finite amount of words and text on a paper. Not to ruin the party, but React content is still not good even when consent is given. It is just, at that point, less objectionable. When a reactor asks for consent, they are implicitly saying, I have a lot of money, influence, and power. What if I took your labor for free in order to give myself even more? I will use your labor to farm exposure and money for myself, and some of it might trickle down to you. This turns non-consensual unpaid labor into consensual unpaid labor, which isn't exactly a great improvement. This is the trickle-down theory of React economics. The people at the top get bigger. If only they didn't have to pay for labor, you will see some benefit somehow any day now. Again, sus. So far, I've actually really enjoyed Dark Viper's essay so far. But so far, this consent piece part is a little sus, and it feels like there's a strong projection in it. Maybe this is what he thought, or maybe this is what he felt, but it's a little weird. You must already have money, influence, and power for people to willingly give you free labor. With these qualities, actual content creators will not give you permission. It is therefore only possible for the already successful to use their current success to consensually shortcut their way to even more success with unpaid labor. React content is therefore a tool for the already successful to produce content far faster and easier than everyone else in order to corner the market, crush down other content creators, capture any new viewers entering the market, and to keep new content creators from being able to find sufficient exposure to make a career. But they would have had consent technically, so less bad. Okay, so let's just keep going. I feel like he has a gripe. I don't know if this is a neutral position coming into it. It feels very strongly heavy-handed towards React content so far, and I don't know if it's fair, like the way that he's placing it. There's so much that's not being said and not being taken to a place, which I'm trying to add to it, by the way. But yeah. Ooh, fair use. We already talked about this. Fair use law, like 1984 in the Constitution, are things that people cite fairly often but have not actually read. In summary, fair use law was largely written in 1976 and has the goal of allowing a person to use portions of another person's work to achieve a different purpose from the original work to target a different audience. So not React content. Nowhere close. React content is the least fair use content available online, but more importantly, what is legal is not necessarily good by any standard. Just because slavery was once legal, it didn't make it good, and certainly even if the labor exploitation was legal, it still wouldn't make it any less exploitative or something that should be tolerated. What people wrote down in 1976 in America has little bearing on what we today should consider justifiable. This is made especially clear given that what most people consider as fair use isn't actually covered. Okay, point made, but I'm not a huge fan of like comparisons and then like taking something extreme, like the extreme version. Like there's people who like they'll compare things to like Hitler, compare things to like slavery. They'll compare it to like very extreme things in order to make a connection. And sometimes that connection is not like false, but it feels like it's I don't know. I won't continue. You know what I'm saying though. We all have different ideas as what is appropriate use for another person's content, and thus what should ultimately be considered fair use. For viewers in general, their standard for acceptability is whatever their preferred content creators are doing. Content creators in general is whatever they are currently doing or that they might want to do in the future. We are all biased in that assessment. I can only leave the question to you as to whether you think making millions of dollars reposting other people's content for 1/100th of the effort is a social good, fair to all involved, or actually makes the content landscape better. I agree with the statement. I think people reacting to people's content for 1/100th of the time and effort that they do it is unhealthy. It might create a system where people maybe don't want to make OG content in the first place. But I don't agree with the concept with him that if someone reacts to their content, then that's taken away from the content view that they would have already gotten. And B, I don't agree with the concept of effort being used as a token for measurement of whether a video is good or not. Okay, I strongly disagree with that concept, and he's using this as the foundation of his entire freaking article, using this goddamn word effort and labor hours. Man, I don't care how long it took for you to make a shitty product. A shitty product is a shitty product. Okay, I spent 1,000 hours. I don't care. It's bad. And that's how viewers feel. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be real. You know, you might say, but my favorite reactor only does this sometimes. And I'm sure anyone doing bad things doesn't exclusively do bad things, and your time spent not doing bad things does not make your bad things any less bad. Okay, that's a bad sentence. Many reactors were once actual content creators, but became rich and lazy. Dang, this is projection, man. Like, this is projection, but there are facts onto it as well. It's a projection of, I think, certain YouTubers they specifically sees, and it's not always like that. It don't always be like it is, but it do. I'm not gonna. I think Dark Viper makes a lot of excellent points, and I think some of the points that he makes are not so excellent. So I'm not downing this guy. We're just, we're talking, we're debating, okay? Is it not the same as making content about video games? No. Take a video of a person on a ride at Disneyland. You may quickly notice that the video of the ride does not fulfill the purpose of this ride. You can't say, I rode the ride at Disneyland, because it isn't true. If you watch a video of a person playing God of War, you can't then say, I have played God of War, which is its purpose and value. This is because you haven't. It isn't true. However, if you watch a video, you can say you have watched the video because you did watch it. You just watched it with someone else fulfilling the video's purpose and value. Again, agree and disagree. When people watch videos, the value of the video changes, okay? Again, and I always use Darman example. I'm not watching Darman videos ever on my own. I'm never just gonna be like, Darman just uploaded a new video. Let me just watch this. This is highly entertaining. No, I want to see people make fun of Darman. I want to see people laugh at Darman. That's the content that I want. The video's purpose of Darman's videos is to teach you the lessons, how not to be racist or sexist, or how not to make mistakes, blah, 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 teaching you life lessons. I don't care about life lessons. I want to see people make fun of him. And that's the content that I look for, and that's where the React channels come into play. So it's, again, the video's purpose and value it's not quite the same, because I'm not watching it for the value that the original video person made at their initial intent. That's not the reason why I'm watching. Videos of games do not usually compete with the video games themselves, as watching a video is different from playing a video game, which is why game companies beg people to make content from their games for free advertisement. Videos of videos, on the other hand, are just videos to compete with videos because they are videos. That is a terrible sentence, bro. Come on, man. I know you got adjectives. I've seen you use them. A video of a video extracts all the value of the OG unless it is transformed to be distinct from the OG, which a reactor can never do simply by pressing the pause button. It can. It can. You take a freaking comedian, dog, and he's pausing in between every single Darman video, I will be cracking up, okay? I disagree with this, man. Some people have value to provide just by being themselves, whether they're comedians or analysts or good speakers, or maybe they have a very good voice, and by reading it, you get another value. I disagree with this. All a reactor can do is add to something. They can never transform it. Reactor extracts all the value from the original video for the fraction of the effort to take. Again, I disagree with it. To say that you can never transform something by reacting to it, I think undermines the concept of people's ability to inject themselves into a conversation. Okay? I truly, truly believe me reading this article is way more different than when you read this article, including all the commentary that I make. I truly believe that I can watch a video and what it was original intent with my commentary and with my, whatever I can do will completely change the way that you've watched the video and give you a completely different experience if you watched it on your own. I disagree with this concept. Reactors are all bad people. All right. They explicitly exploit the less fortunate for their own gain. Rich professional reactors are much worse, as they have all the ability to act with great consideration for how their actions will affect those around them, but actively choose to harm others anyway. They know what you're doing, but they just don't care. They may seem like nice people, but you'd be a bit nicer if you were making millions of dollars reposting other people's hard work for massive profits. If you meet a reactor at a party, I suggest covering your glass or outright tell them you don't want them to F you because they seem keen to take a person's silence for consent. All right, that's not it, Dark Viper. Come on, bro. Dark Viper makes good points. He's making good writing points, but he keeps falling into this thing where he keeps making comparisons to like crazy amounts of extremes, and it's taken away from the objective and point that he's trying to make. In my opinion, it's not necessary, and it's also not correct. It's like just stick with what you were doing, but stop comparing things to like freaking what, rape and Adolf Hitler and slavery? Like that you don't need to do that to make a point, I assure you. If you're still not convinced after this, consider this. Scenario 1, I want something to use in my live stream, so I hire a guy to make me something. He spends 100 hours making a video for me and asks for $1,000. I tell him to go F himself and just take the content and use it to gain profit and exposure on Twitch and YouTube. As you can imagine, I would be skinned alive by the person I take the content from as well as by the public sphere. Scenario 2, I want something to use in my live stream. I see a guy who just made a video. He spent 100 hours making a video and it would normally cost me $1,000 to buy a license to use it. Without asking, I take this content and use it for profit and exposure on Twitch and YouTube. As you can imagine, nothing would happen to me. I would just be Hassan, Pokimane, MoistCritikal, and XQC. Why is the second scenario better than the first? If you defend reactors, you must consider it to be so. I'm not defending reactors. I think there's a lot of problematic people who just absorb other people's content nonstop, left and right, and eat it up and gobble it up like Pac-Man. There's a bias here in this entire statement. There's a bias that is taken away from his actual points, and I think this could be written a little bit better. I agree with a lot of the points that he's making, but some of the points that he's making, I feel like this is Dow some Street Fighter. My man's is reaching very, very hard to prove a point where he didn't have to make these wild, analogies. The moral of the story is that if you don't have the ability to make content, this doesn't give you the right to steal other people's labor to compensate. As a rule of life, if you can't think of a way to do something morally, you shouldn't be doing it. No reactor thinks, gee, this guy took 500 hours to make this video and I re-uploaded it in 20 minutes. This is clearly not exploitative. They don't care about you or anyone else. They just want to use you for your unpaid labor. Man, come on, Dark Viper. This feels personal. And if he's making it seem like it's cut and dry and it's just one thing, and he's over villainizing reactors. He's over villainizing them, and he's showing his personal bias towards it, is what I feel. Like, it's like, if you want to make your point, but then you take a person and then you compare them to all of these very, very terrible things, it actually takes away from what you're saying. And it makes it feel like you have a very, very strong bias and you're not looking at this neutrally, in my opinion. Okay. It feels like you have an agenda to make this idea of reactors being evil be evil versus letting it naturally flow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but maybe you know what I'm saying. For those who've had their content reacted to, do you think this has gone far enough? Does our space need people making tens of millions of dollars reposting content? Do you sit for hours staring at your editing software to be the unpaid intern of another person's enterprise? If you tell them to stop, they're stealing from you by moving on to their next cash cow. They don't respect you. They laugh at you. What? Okay, now this is political, bro. Who you trying to fight the power? Like, bro, come on. No one's sitting here laughing. Yeah, you stupid content creator who made 1,000 hours. Like, you have the power to stop them by taking down their channels. If you won't do it for yourself, do it for the people they invisibly steal from every day, and for all those people who have had to quit the career we love due to the reactors' greed. He's doing a call to action. Okay, and he's throwing in a little bit of theatrics. And maybe because I've seen all of this so many times that I can see right past it, but that's fair. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Bring up the revolution, baby. Some of the Avengers. So guys, there's an addendum here that I'm not going to read because I read the first sentence and it said, the following doesn't really fit into the main body, but is relevant to the landscape of React content and my criticism of it. I'm not going to read it. Because if you have an addendum for it, then you should just take away this word. I keep thinking. So I'm just going to believe that this is the main subject of it, and I don't want to read any more. There's like 3 more pages, but I'd rather stop. But yeah, guys, that's DarkViperAU and his topics and his points. I've basically expressed how I felt while also reading it. I think he makes a lot of good points. I think he makes a lot of bad points. And I think the foundation of a lot of his points, this whole concept of effort and time spent, is just completely ridiculous. And again, that's just me being evil, but no one cares about how long you worked on a project on YouTube if the product sucks, okay? It doesn't somehow make it more valuable just because you put more of your time and energy and effort into it, okay? Take that fallacy away, okay? Santa Claus is not real, bro, okay? That's if you want to be a YouTuber, do not think that somehow by you spending hours and hours and hours and days and weeks on a project is somehow going to translate to reward that you deserve, because you deserve nothing on YouTube. All right. You deserve nothing. And you got to stop that entitlement that somehow your time should be rewarded, because that's not how it works on YouTube. Okay. You make a good product or you don't. That's it. That's the facts. You spend 1 hour making a meme, maybe you'll get 1 billion views off that bad boy. You can spend an entire year making a documentary and no one blinks an eye, okay? And that's just the facts. That's the harsh truth. And that someone needs to tell you it, so I'm gonna tell you it. But yeah, guys, that's Dark Viper's essay. I think MoistCritikal reviewed this. His was more like a 30-minute video. And from what I read in the comments, I don't think people liked his opinion. I didn't watch his entire video because I didn't want to be influenced by it. I wanted to actually specifically react to Dark Vipers. But I do think that a lot of people were in his comments saying like, hey, this ain't it. This is a bad take. And I'm not exactly sure what Charlie said. I do know Charlie sometimes says things and then eventually he'll make a video and be like, my bad. Like, I apologize or I was wrong. Charlie's the type of person where if he says a statement and maybe he misses something or he does something wrong, and I'm the same way too, I'll go backwards and be like, you know what? You guys are right. You guys made a good point, and maybe my take was terrible. And if you guys do this with this video, you can let me know. But again, I don't think it's as cut and dry. I feel like my boy here had an agenda to make people look really, really more evil than they really are. There's a lot more nuance to it, but again, limited to whatever finite amount of letters that he has. Let me know how you guys feel about the subject. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Peace.